Hello and welcome to the Statesmanship Project, episode 17. In this episode, I want to discuss the impending financial doom that is upon us. This is not something to be afraid of. Things will be difficult for a short period of time, but even if you don't have stacks upon stacks of gold or silver upon which you can sleep at night, understand that the source of all value is human labor. So as long as you are capable and willing to work in some capacity, I'm not saying that you're going to be a slave. I am saying that when you provide value, that is what gives value to an economy and to a society. So as long as you can do that, as long as you're willing to do that, in whatever capacity you're able to do that, you will be fine. The thing that's hard, especially for Americans, is to understand what a community is, what a nation is, what it means to be part of a people. Because the majority of especially, I'm a millennial, especially our generation, Gen Xers, and then the Zs, and on down. I think this next generation that's being born right now will have an entirely different perspective on the world. But we grew up in a world without a community, a world without a nation, a world without a culture. Our culture, as it is, was globalism, globo homo, as it's affectionately called. And the idea is, especially with American civic nationalism, the idea was that as long as somebody is here in America, they will become an American. It's the idea of magic dirt, and that's actually not a thing. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's not a thing. And so, as Americans, as heritage Americans, it's hard for us to understand what our culture is, because we are rapidly becoming a minority within our own country, on our own land. And of course, we're surrounded by people who don't have any concept of culture or community. And so it makes it difficult to try to understand what any of that stuff means. And so when it comes to understanding the financial calamity that is upon us, all we have ever known is the fiat Federal Reserve notes. And so there's a lot of talk about a gold standard or a silver standard. And this stuff's interesting, but it limits the capacity for human productivity, because human productivity is essentially infinite, given the means to be productive. And one of the major means for that is the ability to exchange value, because one person remodeling your kitchen, a day of their work is different than one person digging a ditch or another person weaving fabric. Their overall productivity and the value of the goods they produce is different. And so you need a currency, a means of exchange between them. That way they can exchange value as equitably as possible. But one needs to understand that the source of that value is the labor that they are willing to produce in exchange for that currency. It has nothing to do with the fact that you could buy a certain amount of gold or a certain amount of silver with said currency. That's an objective standard that gives some people reassurance, because they either believe that human beings are essentially irredeemable or are incapable of operating with integrity, and I disagree with that. There are people out there that are incapable of operating with integrity, and you have to prevent them from having control within your community, within your society, within your nation, or in the case of America, within the empire. And unfortunately, they've been expelled from 109 and most likely going to be 110 or so nations in the future. But they are in control of America right now. And all we can do is recognize this and then build systems to operate around their current systems of control, and then prevent them from having any influence rights whatsoever over our new systems that serve the people. Because ultimately, the currency should belong to the people, not to a bank, not to a foreign ruling bankster elite, but to the people, because it is our money and it is a representation of our value that we choose to exchange with each other. Now, establishing that is as simple as creating a unique set of bills that can be circulated and not easily replicated. That's what established the colonial economy, and the fact that the Bank of England counterfeited colonial script is what led to the American Revolution. The Stamp Act was just the last straw. The first straw was a complete deterioration of colonial currency, and then a law that mandated our currency be generated off of bonds that were produced by the Bank of England. It was a Rothschild institution, then and now, as is the Federal Reserve. So, what we need to understand is that if we want to get back to an economy, and to a culture, and to a society that serves the people, we have to have a currency that is owned by the people and accurately reflects our value, independent of any other foreign or banking cartel's ability to establish its value or control its value. That way we can start producing value amongst ourselves, for ourselves, as a nation, independent and sovereign. This is part of the goal of the Statesmanship Project, is to help you understand how to be independent and sovereign, because you have all of the authority as an ancient king, queen, or noble within your own land. In America, we are all sovereign. That's why we had a republic, was so that these rights could not be usurped from us or infringed upon us. And the Congress met, and laws were passed in an effort to facilitate the protection of those rights and to ease the exchange of value between ourselves. This, of course, was completely destroyed. But these are principles that we have to get back to. We don't need a government to tell us what to do or how to do it. The government is there. It is supposed to be instituted amongst us, by us, to serve us. And when it doesn't, we have the God-given authority to absolve that and create our own institutions. And in lieu of being able to dissolve them, we can just create our own and operate outside of theirs. The first thing we have to do is establish self-governance. And in order to do that, the first thing we have to recognize is that we need not fear. Because that's what God tells us to do. Do not be afraid. Do not fear. So with that in mind, I will leave you today. I hope this has been helpful or insightful or useful in some way. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, have a good day.